we accept the President's words. They came from a place of anger and disappointment. I'm sure many Americans feel the same way.
The President was right to let loose his feelings. It shocked us into understanding the severity of the harm our people caused.
These criminals betrayed America's welcoming spirit. The scale of these crimes has stained the reputation of American Somalis.
America's freedoms allowed us to build a unique community here in Minnesota. In return, we must promise to weed out any evil living among us.
This evil came from within our community. And so, as an honorable community, we take responsibility. We must correct this wrongdoing.
The only way to regain the trust of this nation is to root out crime, stay humble, and be forever grateful. That's the premise.
So, as honorable Somalis, we are going to take on the responsibility of apologizing to all Americans. We are deeply, deeply sorry.
The shame of this will haunt us forever. And hopefully over time you will come to forgive us. Thank you.
Wow, have you guys seen all these videos of the Somalian community leaders coming out and apologizing for their people stealing all this money? So yeah, y'all could be sorry, but somebody need to go to jail. Yeah, just like if we got caught in fraud, we go to jail. So sorry, not sorry. Lock that ass up. It is what it is. Peace.
So the Somali leaders are apologizing. They have made a public statement apologizing for what happened, the whole fraud allegation and all that. Okay, so they have apologized, and people are saying, is apology enough? Is this really all we want? Or do we really want to take this apology and keep them in the country? Or do we still want them to leave even though they have apologized? So anyways, I'll let the rest of the videos play out. So we will know what people think, and then you will see how people are reacting to this apology. Okay, so please do not forget to like, subscribe, and drop your comments, because of course I would like to know what you think about this video. Okay, please. Alright, remain to the original creators of these videos. Please let's watch, and then we'll come back, talk about this some more, and then we'll know what people think. And also, we'll get down to the comment section and read what people are thinking. Alright, let's watch, and then we'll come back.
So this Somalian dude with an IQ of probably 67 thinks that we're all just stupid. So he runs a daycare out in Minnesota. And as soon as the Department of Homeland Security said that they're going to start investigating these daycares because Nick Shirley blew it up, he came out on the news and announced that they had been robbed. Somebody came to their daycare and stole all of their important documents that would show about their employees and their clients. They stole that and their check receipts. Now, as somebody who was a career criminal for like 20 years, who's been convicted of organized fraud, I can tell you that documentation that they stole is absolutely worthless to anyone except the feds, because that could help the feds build a case against them. What crazy timing there. It's almost as if this whole thing is unbelievable. And the whole time that this dude who works at a daycare is telling us this on the news, he's wearing these glasses. These frames right here cost $2,400. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I'm a working man, and there's 0% chance that I'm going to spend $2,400 on frames for my glasses. It seems like he has an excess of money. What do you guys think is going on here? Let me know down in the comments.
It's so sad. Somalians in the United States are taking the blame for this massive cover-up. I've been digging deep, and I pieced it together. It's not the Somalian people pulling off the fraud. Nah, it's the United States government who rigged the whole thing to funnel billions of dollars to what Israel just recognized as Somaliland. This is huge because Israel needs a spot to deport the Palestinians, and someone gotta foot the bill for that land. And since the United States government is basically run by you, the Israels, we are the ones paying for it all. This land grab for deporting Palestinians, the blame they are pinning on the Somalian community.
I think at this point, the Somalis will do anything to cover up the fraud instead of calling out those doing the fraud in their community. But let's be very clear, the Minnesota fraud scandal is not fake news. It wasn't decided on social media. It was proven in US federal court. Take for example, the case centers on feeding our future, where over $250 million in taxpayer money meant to feed children during COVID was fraudulently claimed for meals and was never served. Federal investigators didn't guess. They followed the bank records, fake invoices, shell companies, wire transfer, surveillance, and witness testimony. Dozens of people were indicted, pleaded guilty, and were convicted. Judges reviewed the evidence, juries weighed in, sentences were handed down. So when people now claim that US government stole the money and gave it to Israel, there is zero evidence for that. US aid to Israel is publicly debated and approved by Congress. It does not run through Minnesota nonprofit meal programs. The money didn't disappear. It landed in private banks' account and was spent on luxury cars, homes, cash withdrawals, and overseas transfer. This is not about anybody. Communities are not on trial. Individuals are. Many Somalis in Minnesota are yet to condemn this fraud. You don't protect your community by denying proven crimes. You protect it by telling the truth, rejecting corruption, and demanding accountability. Calling out fraud in your community. Facts don't care who you're protecting, only what actually happened. And right now, a lot of fraud around daycare centers in Minnesota are being uncovered, mostly run by Somalis.
I take back every word I said about defending Somalis in America who are under attack by Donald Trump after seeing this. Now, that is the response that a lot of people are putting out there, that, hey, I was just defending Somalis here who are being oppressed and attacked by the Trump administration, and that's wrong. And here they go celebrating Israel, who is annihilating an entire ethnicity of brown people just like them who share a similar religion to them. And here they are celebrating Israel and putting up the Israeli flag with firecrackers and stuff. It's absolutely disgusting, and so we should just stop supporting them. Well, here's the problem that most people don't understand. First of all, Somaliland is a rebel breakoff from Somalia, so this is to be expected, and that isn't the majority of people who are here as Somalis in the United States. The Somali community that is in the United States comes from Somalia, not Somaliland. They came here because most of them were ran out of Somalia when George Bush Jr. and Israel paid Ethiopia $1.4 billion to invade Somalia, rape, pillage, and murder a bunch of Muslim Somalis who then had to flee their country as refugees, many of them ending up here in the United States. So the Somalis who are under attack here have nothing to do with Somaliland or waving Israeli flags. I know many of these Somalis, and they are absolutely disgusted with the display of the Israeli flag in Somalia territory. So yes, shame on you Somalis from Somaliland for doing that, but at the same time, we will continue to stand up for those who are oppressed and who are being attacked unjustly, like the Somali community in the United States. And we will continue to stand up for your right to exist, to live in peace, harmony, and prosperity right here in the United States as our fellow American citizens.
When a Somali goes to the doctor, magically, they forgot how to speak English, so they need an interpreter there. So the county brings in an interpreter at $100 an hour, minimum 8 hours, to interpret what the doctor is telling the patient.
So that's another layer of fraud that nobody's even talked about or revealed.
And it's millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars all on its own. Interpreter services.
Yeah, because what percentage do you think of these people, especially if they were born here in the United States, they speak English, right? Like
of course they do.
They should not be saying no English.
And then remember, the interpreter has to get to the doctor's office or the hospital. How are they getting there? The transportation company, and then they got to get back home. And that patient had to get to the doctor's office. How? Transportation. Kids got to get to school. How? Transportation. That's why I said the transportation is the hub of, really, I think, all of this.
So basically what we're talking about between all these fraudulent businesses, the daycare, the autism centers, the adult daycare, the home services, and then the transportation, and then on top of that you have it looped in with them going eventually to the doctors for translators to be paid by the state.
That's exactly what's happening, yes.
I got Somalians as neighbors, and I talked to one of them, and I asked him about this whole Somalian fraud that's going on in Minnesota. And one of the guys explained it to me this way. He said back in Somalia, a lot of them come from clans. And Muslims have this thing where their spoils, even their Prophet Muhammad, whatever, he would go out and plunder people, and the spoils of war would be considered rightfully theirs. And whenever they would go to a place and they would subjugate the non-believers, they would put a tax on them. So he's like, the Somalians believe in Minnesota their plunder is rightfully theirs, and it's just a tax that the white people are paying for the Somalians, to, you know, for them, to the Muslims, to the non-believers. And so they do not comprehend the Western laws. They don't understand it. It doesn't compete to their Sharia law that they're practicing. And so this outrage, and so he explained this one little thing to me. He's like, in their religion, they're permitted to lie. So when you see all these Somalians in Minnesota, you know, being outrageous that their fraud is being exposed, he's like, they're permitted to lie. They're permitted to tax the non-believers. They're permitted to practice their Sharia law. They're permitted to plunder, because in their belief system, it is rightfully theirs. So they don't understand why all these people are upset about, you know, all this fraud that's going on, because they've been practicing all this stuff they've been doing in Somalia. You know, they just brought their belief system here, and they do not understand why everyone's outraged. And, you know, so that's just, and I was like, well, that kind of makes sense. I guess if you raised up in one belief system, you went to another, and then, you know, you're upset why they're upset that you're marrying a 6-year-old. That's kind of been happening. So that's quite interesting. But here in Idaho, there's a very good Somalian population, and three doors house from me, a Somalian family lives, and sometimes I would talk to them. So it's interesting.
Today in Ohio, at the state capitol, they took down the American flag and put up the Somalian flag. This is no longer a game. This is an invasion of a hostile nation that wants to take our values, our way of life away. Over the past few days, they have been caught for billions of dollars. And what does everybody, mainstream media and the government do? They protect them by going after the ones that are discovering this. President Trump, you better get this under control. Because I'm telling you, us as American citizens, we're only going to take so much more of this. You're not going to sit here and back us into a corner and force us to acknowledge another nation's flag over our state capitals. You're about to put us in a position to where some of us are going to have to do that.
So like I said, people are saying, is apology all that it is? Is that really all we are going to take? And then we act like this never happened. Should we really take apology, or we should demand for them to leave? Because so many people are saying, we do not want them anyway. They should leave, you know. So someone dropped, people, like I said, people dropped in the comment section. So someone said, an apology is a start, but words alone are not enough. If there was fraud allegation, the public deserves full transparency, independent investigations, published findings, and real consequences if wrongdoing occurred. Leadership means accountability, not just statements at press conferences. Okay, I think you have a point there. Next person said, I actually respect that they apologize. In politics, it's rare to see leaders admit mistakes at all. That said, trust is earned through action. The next step should be clear reforms to prevent fraud from happening again, not just damage control. Another person said, apologies after getting caught don't automatically restore credibility. If public funds were misused, the focus should be on recovering the money and strengthening oversight systems. Citizens are tired of corruption scandals following by empty promises. Okay. Another person said, this situation shows why strong institutions matter more than individual leaders. Fraud allegations shouldn't depend on whether someone feels sorry. There should be adults and anti-corruption agencies and legal processes that function independently. That's how public confidence is rebuilt. The next person said, I think people are frustrated because corruption shows development. When funds meant for infrastructure, education, or healthcare are mismanaged, ordinary citizens suffer. An apology needs to come with structural change, procurement reform, transparent and budgeting, and strict enforcement. Another one said, admitting faults can be a sign of maturity in leadership, but the real test is whether there will be consequences. If no one is held responsible and the same behavior continues, the apology becomes meaningless. Okay. Next sentence said, this should be a turning point. Public officials need to remember that they serve the people, not themselves. Strong anti-fraud policies, digital tracking of public spending, and open reporting could help prevent these issues from repeating. Yeah. Next sentence said, at the end of the day, citizens want stability and progress. Fraud allegations damage the country's reputation internationally and discourage investment. If leaders are serious about moving forward, they must show through action that transparency and integrity are non-negotiable. All right. Next person said, an apology is important, but accountability is more important. If fraud allegations were serious enough to require a public apology, then they are serious enough to require legal reviews. This public shouldn't have to guess what really happened. Transparency builds trust and secrecy destroys it. Yeah, I understand where this is coming from. This person is coming from, because obviously, if it was that important for you to come to the public and apologize to the people, then what's there? You should get down to it and show transparency to everything, you know. So the next one said, this isn't just about one incident, it's about a pattern. Every time there's a scandal, we hear apologies, then everything goes quiet. If leaders truly want to restore credibility, they need to open the books, allow independent audits, and publish the results. Otherwise, it feels like political theater. I get you, I get you, I get where you're coming from. Next one said, I will give them credit for apologizing. Many politicians double down instead of admitting fault. But leadership means accepting consequences, not just expressing regret. If systems failed, fix them. If individuals broke the law, hold them accountable. That's how serious government operates. All right, yeah, everyone has said what they think, and I really think we can relate and we can understand these people's point of view. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to like and subscribe and drop your own comments, because I really want to know what you all think too. So all right, remain to the original creators of these videos. Thank you so much for watching this one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.